So, Genevieve Sabourin is in big trouble this morning. She woke up in Rikers Island. She was held in contempt of court. She is the accused stalker and harasser of Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, joining us this morning is Genevieve's attorney, Todd Spodek. Nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
So today is closing arguments.
That's right. Directly from here, we'll be closing up on the case. We'll make our arguments. I go first, and then the prosecutor will make closing remarks, and the judge might render a verdict directly after.
What are you going to say in your closing arguments?
I'm going to say the truth, that this has been a relationship that fizzled, and unfortunately, Miss Sabourin never got the closure she wanted. That's all she ever wanted from Mr. Baldwin, was to find out what happened in the relationship. Why did he stop contacting her? Why did he stop responding to emails and calls and whatnot? And merely getting closure is what anyone in a romantic relationship wants at the end.
Well, people want that. They don't always get that, and they are not legally entitled to resort to what your client is accused of resorting to. The harassing emails, showing up at the apartment, showing up at the house in the East End. Do you dispute any of that?
Well, I don't dispute that she attended a performance at Lincoln Center, or that she attempted to visit him at his house, or that she attempted to visit him in Long Island. But that on its own is not illegal. It's the intent. It's what was her purpose in doing it. And I submit that her purpose was merely to talk to him, not to harass.
Now, you know, in court, Alec Baldwin said that he did not have sexual relations with her, right?
Correct.
How come did you not think about calling Marty Bregman, the movie producer that's been widely quoted in the papers the last few days, as saying that he thought that they were having a relationship?
I did have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Bregman, and he made it quite clear that he was not interested in coming to court to testify. And then when I spoke to him again, he was not in New York, and I don't think he would be testifying necessarily as favorable as we would like. I think he would say he doesn't remember and he doesn't recall.
What about hotel records?
Well, the hotel records just show that she was at the hotel, not that they had sex at the hotel.
So, but you don't know who paid for it?
Miss Sabourin paid for the hotel.
I'm looking at the footage of your client. We can all see it. She's surrounded by reporters. She's talking every step of the way, on her way into court, on her way out of court. Sir, respectfully, I don't think she's helping her case when she does this. And have you advised her perhaps to not talk to the media? Wouldn't that be some pretty sound advice? Absolutely.
From the onset of my representation, I've advised her to say absolutely nothing, because it can and will be used against her in court. The problem is she's emotional. This is a personal matter to her, you know, and she has a little difficulty in keeping her mouth shut in this regard.
You understand why she's in Rikers right now. You don't have a problem with what the judge did. You can't interrupt the proceedings. You just can't do that. That's illegal.
Well, I don't want to say that I don't have a problem with what the judge did. I respect the judge's order, and I do think that Ms. Sabourin should respect the decorum of the court. 30 days in contempt, that's a little much, in my opinion.
Is it unusual to throw somebody in jail basically in the middle of their trial?
Well, it's not unusual. It does happen, but usually the behavior has to be quite egregious to get the full 30 days.
Well, she wasn't listening to the judge. I mean, did you talk to her and tell her to not speak unless she was spoken to?
Of course. I've instructed her, and the judge has been patient. I will say that.
Is she seeking, and this is a private question, maybe it's just a suggestion, but it would appear that she needs some counseling.
Well, I have no comment on that. My sole goal here is to hopefully get an acquittal and get her back to Canada to move on with her life, close this chapter.
So she wants to move back to Canada?
Yeah, she has no intention of staying in the U.S. She wants to move on with her life and close this chapter.
Does she really want to move on to her life? Because I want to show that footage one more time. She seems to be milking this for all it's worth. The attention, the cameras, I mean, all of this is unnecessary to her legal case. If all she wants to do is close the book and go back to Canada, this is not the way to do it.
Truth be told, when we arrive at court, there are hundreds of photographers and news channels and reporters there, and it's impossible not to get through them without making some sort of comment. So perhaps she's saying more than needed.
People do it every day. People do that every single day in this city.
I could say that myself, going through it every day, it is difficult, and it's hard to not say something.
Well, let me ask you something. Is there something that she hasn't been able to say in the courtroom that she said outside, or maybe that you can express right now?
I think, you know, when she testified, she was clear in that her intent was never to do anything illegal or to have any ill will towards the Baldwins. It was merely, again, to get closure. One of the charges is that she intentionally violated an order of protection. We dispute that. We don't think there's any evidence that she intentionally violated an order of protection or that she was ever served the order of protection listing Hilaria Baldwin on it.
How is she doing in jail? When's the last time you talked to her?
I spoke with her yesterday towards the end of the day, and she was on her way to jail. And she's okay. You know, there was an issue with her dog. She has a dog.
Who took care of the dog?
So there's a sister who's watching the dog, who's taking care of the dog, and I spoke and confirmed with her, and I have her personal belongings, and everything's under control.
Well, Mr. Spodek, good luck in court. You've got
I appreciate it.
What time will you be heard?
10 o'clock I'll be heard.
So do you think it's easier in front of a judge rather than a jury?
No, absolutely not. A jury, for a case like this, we'd have 6 people deciding. Here we have 1 person who's hearing everything, and it's much easier to raise reasonable doubt with 6 than it is to 1, especially a judge.
Do you think already the cards are stacked against you since he kind of threw her in jail because she wasn't behaving?
Well, that's a separate issue because that's the contempt. That's not the underlying criminal case.
Right, but it would seem like if he already threw her in jail, he's kind of leaning against
Well, we can see which side
side
you're on, Greg. We see where your loyalty is.
Well, I mean, I'm just watching from the outside. Don't worry, the decision's not up to me. But, well, Mr. Spodek, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.
Let's take a quick look outside. I think all